I knew it was a bad idea the second I slammed the trunk shut. That kind of bad idea you feel in your ribs before your head even catches up. A cooler, 2 flannels, an old map that looked like it had been drawn by someone lost, and a promise of seclusion and wood smoke. Perfect for an anniversary. Perfect for a mistake you only understand in hindsight. The highway dissolved into gravel much faster than I expected. The radio died mid-song. And that fog, God, it wasn't normal fog. It hung low across the dips in the road like something alive trying to crawl its way back up. But the host's messages were so reassuring, precise, polite. Instructions on the gate code, where he'd leave the key, best places to watch the sunset. It felt like someone had already anticipated every tiny fear I might have. If you're into true safety stories, make sure you subscribe and stay with me until the end, because this one doesn't warn you. It teaches you. The cabin matched the photos almost too perfectly. Cedar siding, stone chimney, a porch light cutting a neat circle through the fog, as if the world outside it didn't exist. Inside, damp wood, cold air, and something faintly sweet, like cider left out too long. On the kitchen table, beside a folded note that read, "Extra blankets in the chest, text me if you need anything," someone had placed a single, flawless maple leaf. Perfect edges, no tears, no rot, like it had been selected. That's when the silence changed. Not loud, not obvious, just watching. Fog pressing against the windows, the cabin settling like it had a heartbeat, and inside that quiet, small things started to feel deliberate. A trail of dry leaves led from the back door to the fireplace mantel, dead straight, not scattered by wind, placed, arranged, as if someone wanted me to notice the path, to follow the line of it, to understand that I wasn't the first one in here today. I told myself it was a quirky host. I told myself anything that made sense. Made a sandwich, boiled tea, tried to relax into the comfort of isolation. Then the cell signal vanished completely. Sparse reception, the listing had warned. Cute at the time, not cute when the dark keeps pressing its hands against the window. Sometime around midnight, I woke up because the house exhaled loudly, like someone had just walked down the hallway and tried not to disturb me. Picture frames clicked softly on the wall. Boards shifted, not random, in a line, as if following the path of the leaves. I told myself it was a quirky host. I told myself anything that made sense. Made a sandwich, boiled tea, tried to relax into the comfort of isolation. Then the cell signal vanished completely. Sparse reception, the listing had warned. Cute at the time, not cute when the dark keeps pressing its hands against the window. Sometime around midnight, I woke up because the house exhaled loudly, like someone had just walked down the hallway and tried not to disturb me. Picture frames clicked softly on the wall. Boards shifted, not random, in a line, as if following the path of the leaves. I lay awake and listened to breathing that wasn't mine. Morning didn't bring clarity. It brought proof. When I opened the bedroom door, there it was waiting for me, at the top of the stairs. A child's shoe, small, brown leather, laces neatly tied in a bow. But the cabin wasn't a family rental. There were no toys, no photos, no signs of kids living or visiting here. Just one perfectly placed shoe, facing me. Like someone small had stepped out of it, or someone tall had set it there so I would have to see it. There were explanations I kept forcing myself to believe, explanations that sounded almost reasonable if I said them fast enough. Previous guest, neighborhood kid, something the host forgot to mention. But none of them fit cleanly over the shape of the fear that had begun to form. I texted the host anyway. "Did you have guests yesterday? Are you nearby?" Minutes stretched, warped by silence. Finally, "No, sorry about the shoe. I'll check the security cam." That message hit me wrong. Security cam. So much for the warm illusion of seclusion. Somewhere, out here in the fog, a lens had been watching me before I even arrived, and I had never been told. I tried, truly tried, to settle into normalcy. Coffee, a walk, folding clothes for the next leg of my trip. But the house felt recalibrated, like someone had memorized its layout, then rearranged only what would bother me, not frighten me enough to flee. A pile of cut wood appeared neatly stacked by the window, though I didn't hear chopping. The porch plank that always groaned under my step stayed quiet in the morning, but creaked sharply later, even though I barely touched it. And in the bathroom mirror, a faint smudge. A fingerprint too small to be mine? A brown smear at its edge, dried like old tea, or something older. When I called the host, his voice was soothing in a way that felt practiced, measured. "I checked the footage," he said. "I didn't see anyone near your place. Are you sure you're okay?" He had a way of speaking that painted a picture. Him at a laptop in a dim kitchen, a mug with a blue stripe, little notes stuck to the counter. Helpful, harmless, hospitable. Except hospitality shouldn't sound like someone choosing their words with gloves on. He explained. A neighbor named Earl. A dog that barked at nothing. The leaf I found must have been mine. The shoe from a previous guest. His last suggestion broke something in me. Leave the gate unlocked when you go out. Makes it easier for you to run. "Don't say run," I whispered before I could stop myself. He laughed, a soft, understanding laugh, and for the first time it unnerved me. Because the house didn't laugh, but it was listening. That night the fog thickened, pinning itself against the windows like wet cloth. I drifted off on the couch until a voice, clear, close, human, spoke my name from the hallway. Not a knock, not a creak. My name. I sat up so fast the blanket fell to the floor. The living room blurred at the edges. The hallway was a black mouth swallowing the light. 2 doors, a staircase, and more silence than any house should reasonably hold.
I told myself it had to be the host, or Earl, or my brain picking up stray sounds and giving them shape. Hello? It sounded small, even to me. Nothing answered back, only the house's slow, patient breath.
System. System. When the doorbell rang, once, twice, my warmth contracted. The bell inside the door chimed, a sound I had installed to warn me. My throat tightened. Still, I stood anyway. I walked to the door, and when I opened it, my friend Jeff was there with an extra bottle of wine and a sheepish apology for the late hour. I laughed at myself because I had been waiting for a trap, and found instead nothing more than the awkwardness of a man who had taken a wrong turn. The relief was so purely physical that it almost hurt. After the guests left and the apartment settled into midnight quiet, I walked through each room like someone tending a garden that had just been trampled. I checked the locks, listening to each click like it was a promise I didn't fully believe. I touched the cabinets, the curtains, the mantel, confirming over and over that the world was solid. But recovery isn't clean, and mine was about to splinter. Work became a place where I performed competence while my attention drifted to the edges, to the fragile spaces where threat could hide. I wrote messages and deleted them. I hovered over the host's name, but couldn't bring myself to click. Politeness had once been used against me. Now it felt like a trap I might walk back into. Friends divided themselves into believers and soft skeptics. Some wanted to interpret, others simply listened. One of them, Mara, had a steadiness that didn't require explanation. "You don't need resolution to be safe," she said. The sentence didn't solve anything, but it made the dark feel less infinite. Months passed. I learned to name things, startle reflexes, triggers, habits of vigilance. Naming made them smaller, not harmless, but contained. Then, one morning, winter bright and clean, a package sat on my doorstep. No return address. My hands trembled, old muscle memory waking up. Inside, a photograph of the cabin at dusk, one window lit like an open eye. On the back, a scrawl I recognized and didn't recognize, a fragment of a guestbook signature. This was no accident. Someone wanted me to know they still remembered me. The days after that felt watched. A man lingering at a crosswalk, a delivery truck passing twice at strange hours. Routine twisted into tension. I placed a camera on a shelf, not out of paranoia, but strategy. Let the fear turn into evidence. For weeks, it recorded only the rhythm of my home, until one night at 2 a.m. A shadow crossed the hallway. A figure with a gait I knew, not by face, but by the casual roll of the shoulders. The hallway light flickered. Footsteps paused outside my door, then faded. I watched the footage in the cold glow of my living room, every noise amplified by the dark. The shoulder line matched no one I knew, except the silhouette in that photograph on my porch. I took the footage to the precinct. No promises, just a case number. But it was enough to feel like I wasn't invisible. That night, I slept deeply for the first time in months. Sunlight the next morning made the photograph look harmless. I placed it in a drawer anyway. Control isn't a cure. Sometimes it's simply the ability to choose where you put the ghosts. The investigation eventually produced names, men who used rehearsed kindness like a weapon, people who offered apologies shaped like traps. My boundaries thickened, my instincts sharpened. I reclaimed the parts of myself that fear had borrowed. I removed the bell from the door. The ritual of fear wasn't needed anymore. But the voice returned. Soft, testing, as if checking whether it still had a key to my mind. I answered differently now. I checked the lock, counted the windows, verified reality. Not afraid, prepared. Another winter. A new letter from the host. A polite invitation to another private property. I folded it, placed it in an envelope, and sent it back with one line. I am not coming. A boundary drawn in ink. Not dramatic, but final. Now mornings are just mornings. Light filling rooms. Neighbors murmuring through walls. I still watch the door. Habit, not terror. And I set the table for one because the day deserves small rituals. Sometimes I open the window a crack and let the world in, a small act of defiance against the memory of being watched. I'm not healed, but I'm rearranged. Some nights the voice still knocks at the edges of memory, but I repeat a sentence that steadies the room. Homes are not invitations to be owned. They are places where you set the rules. A ceramic bird sits on my mantel now, imperfect, quiet. A witness to a life rebuilt one room at a time. This is not a story with a dramatic ending. It is a map of recoveries, of boundaries, of choosing to stay where I am safe. But sometimes, on the coldest nights, I swear I see the hallway light flicker again. Not from inside my apartment, but from the camera I turned off months ago. And every time, a single thought crawls up my spine. What if the person who watched me never stopped? If you want more true dark stories like this, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because I post new horror episodes every day. You don't want to miss what comes next.